Hey everybody, Pokemon Classics here, and this video isn't going to have the bells and the whistles and the editing techniques that most of my videos have, but this one has a really important message, and it's a message that I hope many of you out there watching receive and take to heart. But if you've been following my channel for a while, you know that my sister-in-law was in a really significant, serious car accident 2 months ago. It was actually on July 17th. A distracted driver ran a stop sign, T-boned her car, and she shouldn't have survived that initial accident. Now, at the time she was leaving my house, she was actually here in this office right where I'm standing, and I was helping her sell some of her childhood collection, her Pokemon cards, and she was just so happy and excited, and it's just really unfortunate, has left a gaping hole and has torn apart our whole family, and it's the toughest thing I've ever had to go through. Now, like I was saying, she shouldn't have survived that initial accident. I've seen photos of the car now, and it is completely destroyed. Like, all the way up to the driver's side is completely gone. This is coming from somebody where my dad raced before I was born, and so he had a passion for NASCAR, and on family vacations growing up, he would take us to the different speedways. We went to Talladega, we went to the Daytona International Speedway in Florida, and I've gotten to walk through those car crash museums that they have and see the cars that are completely bent and destroyed, and her car was worse than some of those, so it's a miracle that she even survived the initial accident. Now, her injuries at the time, she had 11 broken ribs, her pelvis was broken in 5 places, there was damage to some of her internal organs, and she suffered the most severe grade of brain injury that someone can sustain. And so her probability of even surviving the first couple days were extremely low. Yet she's always been a resilient one. She's always been a fighter, and she did survive, and she's still alive today. But even though some of those physical injuries are healing, it's the brain injury that's really the major concern moving forward. She does still have severe brain damage, and she's in a window of potential recovery still. And we've seen some small signs of her being able to wiggle her toes, move her leg, open her eyes. But the responsiveness, the awareness of what's going on around her, the acknowledgement of people, the ability to talk, are things we don't know if she'll ever regain. And that's a scary thought moving forward. I actually dug up this picture of Ashley. This is a really old picture. The date on it isn't right. I've dated it back to about 2001. Back in those days, we didn't have digital cameras. We used film cameras, and this picture was taken at the Pokemon League that I ran along with Ashley, my sister-in-law, and my brother Dan. Originally, I inherited this league from an employee that worked at the store, and then I brought those two in, and together the three of us were like the Three Musketeers running this thing for about 60, sometimes more, people that would come in to attend our league every weekend. And when she was here on that last day before we left, we had an hour-long conversation, reliving some of those memories, some of the decks that we had built, some of the card experiences and pack openings that we had shared together. And it was just such a great conversation to have. And I remember her coming into this office and looking around and talking about my YouTube channel, and she expressed how proud she was of me for the videos that I make and how great they were and how inspirational. And, you know, for someone you grew up with since the age of 10, Ashley is one of the people I admired the most in the world. She's essentially my big sister, and that's something I'll carry with me forever, regardless of what happens. And that sort of mindset brings me back and recenters me with this community. The level of gratitude that I have for the Pokemon community and for all of you out there just can't be expressed in words. First, I want to say thank you to Pat Flynn and the Card Party team. He sent me this box, and inside there was a Get Well Pikachu plushie for Ashley, and this thing was just amazing. It brightened up her room. I dropped it off at the hospital that she's at, and every time I go there, it's just this visual reminder of strangers that have never met her before that care. Inside that box, there was also a Charizard and a Blastoise, a Pokemon for each of the 2 kids. There's this little Alakazam for me, and this is great because Alakazam is my favorite Pokemon, and along with that, he even included some coloring supplies for the kids and for those of us at the hospital as we're visiting, giving us something to do, something to take our minds off of things, and it was just really thoughtful. So thank you so much, Pat, and to your whole Card Party team. Being a part of Card Party is one of the highest honors I've ever experienced in this Pokemon community, and it just means a lot. There are also a number of you that I noticed that donated to Ashley's GoFundMe, and that is also something that I can't thank you enough for. The money side of things isn't really what we're concerned about, and there's no obligation for anyone to make a donation to that. But I saw some familiar names on there. Alex Hodges was one. I know John, Pokemon Radar, donated. Gary sent some money directly, King Pokemon, to my nephew and to my niece, which was way beyond generous. And my nephew actually used that money to invest into a commercial-grade lawnmower that he'd been saving up for. The kid's only 15 years old. He can't even drive a car yet, but he's working on his own lawn mowing business, and he's just such a responsible kid, and I'm just so proud of both of them. So I can't thank you all enough. I'm sure I missed some of you that made donations, but again, that's something that I've noticed and have taken to heart, and it's heartwarming. Most importantly, though, are the messages and the prayers that everybody has sent. That's really what we were seeking the most. And as I went through that initial video I posted, I tried to respond to all of the comments, but there were just so many of them, and I was so busy that I just couldn't. And that's so, I don't even have the words for it. It's just so heartwarming to see how many people cared enough to leave a positive message, to let us know that they were thinking about my sister-in-law, my brother, the kids, me, my family. Some of you sent DMs on Instagram. I've even had a couple of people reach out and text message my personal phone number. That's not a phone number I give out to many people, so kudos to those of you that were able to find me in that way. But all those messages, all of the prayers mean the world to us. We are a family of faith, and that's what my brother wanted the most, was prayers. And we'll continue to take those prayers if you have them. And I think there's this humbling aspect to all of this, where I look at all of these things that have been given to me from this situation, but also over the years, and you all don't owe me anything. If anything, I owe all of you. You know, this platform has given me an audience to share something I'm passionate about, and that's Pokemon cards. It's been such a vital part of my childhood and my life that having the opportunity to share it with other people is such a privilege. It's not something that I take for granted. And the opportunity to attend conventions and go up on stage with people that I've respected and admired for years, and now be treated as an equal and being able to converse and to interact with those people person to person. It's really amazing. It's humbling. And Pokemon's even given me a degree of financial stability that I never really expected. It's not that I have this constant source of revenue and a thriving, successful business. Perhaps I could if I went full time. I don't know. I'm still a teacher, and that's what I'm passionate about. That's what I feel called towards. But having this collection, having some extras that I can sell has been a nice side income. And it's in some ways reassuring to know that I have this pillow to fall back on if anything ever happens. And maybe I'll need to here in the future. I don't really know. If it requires that, cards are cards, just cardboard. Family is much more important, but it's there as an option. What I'm trying to say is it's just been such a privilege and a responsibility to be in this light, to have this platform, to be able to talk to you all on a regular basis. And that's something I never want to take for granted. You know, I try to infuse high production quality and standards into each of my videos to make it worthwhile for you all, whether it's the research, trying to give nuanced responses to difficult questions that we're facing, editing all the videos so the flow, the pacing, the engagement is right, but also the tone of the videos. It's incumbent upon me and important that I want to maintain an uplifting and empathetic perspective in this community. There's plenty of divisive and controversial content and perspectives and issues in the world at large that I don't think we really need more of that here in the Pokemon space. I look at this space as a refuge. It's a sanctuary that I escape to find the positivity, to find the value, the camaraderie. And I think more often than not, that is what is here. Sometimes we focus too much on the negative, but there's a lot of things to be grateful for here in the Pokemon space as well. So with all the prevalence of negativity, why would I want to add to it? And with that context in mind, that's really where I wanted to go with this video. Looking at the world today, there's been a lot of events that are just signaling the division we have in the world. There have been several significant shootings. The political rhetoric and tensions have been at all-time highs, and I just find it so unnecessary to engage in that. It just obscures our shared humanity that we all have as people. And there's value to every human life out there, regardless on what types of issues or areas of disagreement we might have. Now, it's no secret that I'm not a very political person, at least not publicly. I take my role as a teacher very seriously, and I pride myself on not broadcasting my opinions, my beliefs, my politics out there to the world, because I don't want that to interfere with my efficacy in the classroom. My role is to help each and every student, to build a relationship with students so that they can be successful, and I don't need anything interfering with that. So this isn't meant to be a political video by any means, but I wanted to comment briefly on Charlie Kirk's situation and his family, and I think the empathy is sometimes lost in those situations. And given what we're going through in my own family, with Ashley in a minimal state of consciousness and having that abrupt impact, I think I'm in a place where I can empathize with what his family is going through. For the last 2 months, I've experienced what it's like to try to move forward as a family through unexpected tragedy. And no one, and I mean that no one deserves to experience that. You guys have no idea, watching my brother try to navigate life without the woman he cares about most, and watching the kids, both of whom I've helped raise since infancy, growing up without their mother these last couple months, possibly into the future, is a pain that most can't possibly fathom, and I hope others never do. It's terrible. And no one deserves that. Melissa and Mark Hortman here in my home state of Minnesota, they didn't deserve that. Nor do the hundreds of innocent lives and victims who are caught in the crossfires of hate that seems to be brewing from various levels of society. I mentioned Minnesota. That's where I'm from. And we had the school church shooting at the Annunciation School. And that's only 20 miles away from where I teach. That hit me really hard. At the time when I learned about that, I was at our back to school workshop week sitting with other staff members, and we were going through all of our meetings and trainings, and it was just so hard to do that with this on our mind. And in a way, I was touched indirectly by another relationship. There was a little girl, she was 12 years old. Her name was Sophia Forches, and her mother is a pediatric ICU nurse at HCMC in Minneapolis. That was the hospital where Ashley was being treated in the ICU. And at one point, they moved Ashley from the ICU to free up beds into the pediatric division. So that nurse is a face that I actually recognized and had talked to her at least on a couple of occasions. I didn't know her very well, but here she was working in the ICU, having to treat her own daughter with a significant injury. She's expected to survive, and I've been praying for her every day, and I would encourage you guys to as well, because they don't deserve that. Nobody deserves that. The point is that life can change in an instant, and for many people it does, and it begs the question, how do you want to live? This is a question we all need to consider and ponder carefully, because it will direct the outcomes of our life. We can choose to be angry and resentful and selfish, or we can choose to be better than that. We can choose patience, love, empathy for others, particularly those that we don't know, those that we don't like, those that we don't understand. But that's just what existing in a diverse society is. And if you ask me, life is way too short to prioritize our own misery. And ultimately, that's what you'll be choosing if you choose anger and resentment, is you're choosing your own self-destruction, because that's what it leads to, is unhappiness, a lack of fulfillment in life. I think we experience this to a small degree in the Pokémon community. Sometimes, we're guilty of this same tribalism, but on a smaller scale. We see it with like collectors versus investors and how there's some animosity between those two areas of the hobby. Sometimes we see it between modern collectors or vintage collectors arguing over which preference is ultimately better, as though it's not subjective to begin with. Sometimes we see it over grading companies, where people get really defensive about the grading company that they support, or in other situations, people that go on the offensive trying to blast anybody with a differing perspective. These things are pretty trivial when you think about it. And I get it. It's hard to avoid that from time to time, especially when times are tough. And right now they are. We've been held captive by product shortages. There's been all of the botting. We've had scalping. We've seen resellers taking advantage of those product shortages, pushing prices up to the point where they're just not accessible for the average person. I get it. That's tough to deal with. But there's two important things that I think we need to keep in mind. One is that it will get better. It has to. Eventually, supply will catch up with demand, and then these temporary problems will be just that. They'll be temporary. I would encourage you to not let circumstances that are out here that are beyond your control determine who you are. You can always find joy and appreciation in something you love. It's always there, even when the cards aren't. Also, keep in mind that it's just cardboard. We should maintain a perspective on what's the most important in life and have gratitude for the things that we have, because we are all so privileged in this life to have the things that we do, whether it's our health, our family, our friends, the opportunities, the freedoms that we enjoy. And ultimately, those things matter more than cards ever could. I can tell you standing here today that I would trade away my whole collection. I'm talking every set that I own, every graded slab, down to the very last energy card to have Ashley back. To be able to give my brother back the woman he loves. To be able to give back my niece and nephew their mom. But it doesn't work that way. I'm a person of faith, and I trust God regardless of the outcome of this situation or other situations, even when it's hard. And in the meantime, I want to express to you all just how grateful I am for all of you out there, that's part of what I'm grateful for. All of the messages, all of the prayers, the donations, just the support of watching these videos and being part of this community and giving me the platform to do something I enjoy. And I do enjoy this. I love it. Just as important, I want to encourage you all to reflect on the things that matter the most in your own life. You know, if you have any past resentments that are weighing you down, maybe let go of them and choose kindness and choose joy in your own life. It's a decision that we all have to make for ourselves. Again, I can tell you that I've collected cardboard for many, many years, and it's really the memories, the experiences, and the friendships that are worth everything to me. Those supersede the cardboard every time. Anyway, guys, I'm going to be done rambling. It was just an important message that I wanted to get off my chest in this video. Sorry for the lack of exciting graphics and editing, but maybe this meant something to some of you out there. I'm Pokemon Classics, reminding you all that the classics never go out of style. And as I say in most of my videos, don't forget to have fun. That's what this is all about. We'll see y'all with the next video. Bye, everybody.